Hello there, boxing fans around the world. Thank you for joining me once again here on Talkin' Fight for another episode of Boxing News today. We're going to get started with a bit of news out of Detroit, where a really good, a couple of good fights took place, actually. Very recently, 2016 Olympian and unbeaten pro lightweight, someone to look forward to, Juan Carrillo, 12-0, 9 knockouts, knocked out Quinton Rankin on this past Thursday night at the Wayne State Fieldhouse in Detroit, Michigan. Check this out. A left uppercut followed by a right uppercut finished Rankin off at 20 seconds of round number 3. That must have been one heck of a round. IBF number 14 ranked super lightweight and recent world title challenger Shahjahan Ergavshev, 24-1, by the way, 21 knockouts, entering the ring for the first time since his unsuccessful challenge for Subriel Mateus's IBF world title last year, annihilated Juan Huertas in round number 1. A left hook to the body left Huerta on the canvas, writhing in pain at 2 minutes of that round. Ouch. And unbeaten IBF number 2, WBO number 10, super middleweight, Vladimir Shishkin, 16-0 now, 10 knockouts, scored a 7th-round technical knockout against 43-year-old spoiler Mike Guy. A barrage of punishing finishes stopped the fight at 2 minutes 14 seconds. Wow, 7th round. In another fight on this particular evening, we saw 38-year-old former world title challenger Dwalis Prescott. He was stopped in the first round by Hussam Al-Mashadi, who's now 9-1 with 8 knockouts. Great to see. Let's move along to the Tsyzu fight. I want to talk about very, very briefly some of the predictions that I saw over on yardbarker.com. I thought I'd share them with you because I'm sure you're all betting on this one. Okay, my bet is on Tim, the Australian. Okay. I don't think Sebastian's going to be quite ready. He's only had a couple of weeks to prepare, shall we say, but then so is Tim. So anyway, the point matter is the height advantage is incredible. But you know what? A couple of years ago, I once put my money behind a fellow by the name of Anthony Joshua when he was going up against a guy by the name of Alexander Usyk. And I thought the height and the reach advantage that Joshua had would make me some money. I was wrong. So let's have a quick look here at Yardbarker's writers had to say. Hey, Tsyzu versus Fundora. Here we go. Both fighters will have had to make some adjustments in their preparations, given that they were not initially meant to clash. As we all know, Keith Thurman was supposed to enter the ring, but anyway, he was. Anyway, however, Fundora's way of fighting might leave him open to getting stopped by Tsyzu. We're predicting the Australian to get a late stoppage. I'm predicting he'll get an early stoppage because he'll pound away at the liver and Fundora will go down. That's my prediction. Rolly Romero versus Isaac Cruz. Cruz's style, they say, should cause all sorts of trouble for Romero. So expect the Mexican to win by knockout in the later rounds. Erislan Larry versus Michael Zarafa. While both fighters have not been very active these past 2 years, this should be a fight where Lara boxes himself to a decision win. We're predicting Lara by unanimous decision. Pretty safe bet. Julio Cesar Martinez versus Angelino Cordova. These two finally meet. Though knowing Martinez, you never know until the first bell rings. Assuming nothing goes wrong till then, expect Martinez to win via stoppage. So just a couple of predictions for my friends over at Yardbarker. And we're all looking forward to a great weekend of fighting these next few days. Anyway, let's have a quick look here what Tsyzu had to say about his opponent, Fundora. He said, and this is after their face-off. Anyway, Tsyzu's 24-0, by the way, 17 knockouts, need I remind you, okay, said during his face-off with Fundora, who's 21-1, by the way, 13 knockouts, that Fundora was talking about his diet, letting him know that he's been eating pizzas. Tim didn't think too much of that, viewing it as a sign that a 6'5" Fundora was not disciplined. What Tsyzu may be failing to realize is that Fundora has an ectomorph body frame. And those types burn calories rapidly and must work hard to maintain their weight, according to boxingnews24.com. If Fundora didn't eat calorie-dense foods like pizza in training camp, he would lose too much weight and become weak. In contrast, Tsyzu is a mesomorph, and those types put on muscle easily and are careful about what they eat for fear of putting on weight. So, said Timmy, he goes, my body has matured and it's at a different stage. He's eating pizzas and burgers. I would never do that. I wouldn't even do that if I wasn't in a training camp. So it must feel alien to Tim Tsyzu to see the rail thin Fundora eating pizza because he can't do that himself without putting on weight. Fundora, though, isn't foolish. If he was putting on weight from eating pizza and becoming fat, he wouldn't do it. What he's trying to do is keep his weight up so he doesn't waste away while finishing his camp, said Tsyzu. He hasn't fought a world champion before on that caliber. Inside, outside, it really doesn't bother me. They really underestimate my boxing skills, and I'll show them. I'm a much smarter fighter. I think my style has evolved and changed since the Terrell Gaushu fight. I'm much more strategic, and my shots are much more calculated now. So when I land, I actually land. So there's some brave words from Tim Tsyzu, the Australian, who is undefeated, and will attempt to unify the 154-pound titles this weekend when he puts his own WBO world title on the line. Further on to this story is I mentioned the other day the money that Tim would make. I think it was 10 million US, 15 million Australian dollars. And if he were to go on, for example, to fight Errol Spence or Bud Crawford, he might get that same amount of money. But there is a little bit of a difference between those two potential challengers. Errol Spence, quite frankly, is a tad more popular on the pay-per-view circuit, and therefore there is a bit more money to be made if Tsyzu wins against Fundora and if he were to fight Errol Spence. So he did have this to say, by the way. Finally, he's woken up. Oh, look, I'm ready to be taken on. I'd love that fight with open arms. Speaking of a fight against Spence, I've been calling him out for a long time. And he had a quick, when asked about Rolly Romero and Pitbull, I think it'd be interesting. I don't think Pitbull can get knocked out. I think he's tough, durable opponent. And I think he brings the heat, and he'll bring some awkwardness, he continues. We'll see how fit Rolly is. So there you go. A little bit of words and wisdom from Tim Tsyzu. And, again, he's looking, I'm not saying he's looking past Fundora, but he's answering questions honestly about who he might face if he wins against Fundora. And you really have to take a look at the numbers here. And they do favor Spence. Personally, if he does beat Fundora, I would like to see him fight Crawford. But either one of those fights would be a great fight to see nonetheless. So let's see how it shapes up. Right now, it's all crystal balling. Speaking of great fights upcoming that we're looking forward to very soon, Oscar Valdez main event versus Liam Wilson. We spoke about it the other day, but the co-feature is the one I'm looking forward to. Sinisa Estrada versus Yokasta Valley. Great weigh-in, great photos circulating across the internet. This is taking place at the Desert Diamond Arena over in Glendale, Arizona. And let me have one quick look here. It is a stack card. I mean, you got to admit it is a stack card. They start off Oscar Valdez, Mexico's own ring gladiator, squares up against Australia's pugilistic export, Liam Wilson. So a couple of Australians entering the ring. Anyway, in a 10-rounder that smells like redemption, both gents are looking to scrub off the stink of past losses right in the same spot that caught them. It's like a homecoming, but with more punches and less nostalgia. Say my boys over at boxingnews24.com. Then, in a clash that's got the boxing world's ears perked, as I said, Sinisa Estrada and Yokasta Valley are going to duke it out for the undisputed minimum weight title. Yes, you heard it. They call it a tiara because when this is over, we'll have a queen reigning supreme. The chatter's been flying, and now it's time to let the gloves do the talking in a 12-round dance, for sure. Bob Arum, by the way, the big cheese over Top Rank, promises an electrifying night for the diehards in Arizona, with Valdez throwing down with Wilson and the Estrada Yali bout that could light up the main event marquee on its own. It's clear there's no love lost and a ton of action again, without a doubt. It's going to be a great night for boxing fans in Arizona. Over in England, they're looking forward to Fabio Wardley going toe-to-toe against Fraser Clarke. In this particular one, I'm picking Fraser Clarke. Anyway, they're ready to do battle in a long overdue heavyweight showdown dubbed Bad Blood, with the British and Commonwealth titles on the line. This is a much anticipated domestic fight, long in the making, with Wardley having been ordered by the British Boxing Board of Control, the BBBOC, to make the mandatory defense of the British title he's held since November 2022, before Clarke was controversially pulled out of the purse bid at late notice, sparking huge disappointment. Promoter Ben Shalom over at Boxer, that's BOXXER, insisted that he wanted the 2020 Olympic bronze medalist to get in at least one 10-rounder before making the step up to a full 12 against Wardley, having only competed in 6 and 8-rounders as a professional up until then, going past the second round just once. Clarke went on to outpoint heavyweight veteran Marius Wack in his first 10-rounder, York Hall, last summer, 3 months later, forcing the retirement of Dave Allen after 6 rounds, despite being deducted points for repeated low blows. I'm sure he's got that under control now. Now he gets his shot at fellow undefeated heavyweight Wardley, the British and WBA Continental Heavyweight Champ, who also picked up the Commonwealth and WBO European belts, with a 7th round stoppage of another arch rival in David Adlai, as the co-main event on the Tyson Fury Francis Ngannou undercard that was held over in Saudi Arabia in October. The Dillian White managed Ipswich favorite is 17-0 with 16 knockouts at 29, with Clarke and his 8-0, 6 knockouts career owing to his lengthy amateur career, by the way, and only turning pro in December of 2021. So there you go. Wardley versus Clarke. It's taking place on Easter Sunday, March 31st at the O2 Arena in London. And the undercard, by the way, is due to start around 6 o'clock British Standard Time. Main event, 10:30 p.m. for all you UK fans listening in right now. On the undercard, Clarke's fellow Tokyo 2020 Olympic medalist Ben Whittaker returns to the ring against Leon Willings, and one of my favorites, Florian Marcoux, meets Chris Congo, and these guys have been trading words in a potentially explosive welterweight showdown, without a doubt. And we also going to see Callum Simpson, mandatory challenger for Zach Chelly's British super middleweight title. He's going to battle Tanzania's Dula Mababi, and English cruiserweight champ Vidal Riley meets Michael Lawal, who lost the British belt to Isaac Chamberlain back in October. So let's turn our attention to Ben Whittaker, because at the presser that he was holding, and I love Ben Whittaker, he does a bit of showboating without a doubt, but even when we first launched this channel, we were talking about Ben Whittaker at the Olympics quite a few years ago. And his dad, I hope he's still listening, was a huge fan of Talkin Fight when we first got launched and helped spread the word across England. Anyway, at the presser, a young man jumps up and challenges Ben Whittaker to a fight. So who was this mystery man? The man was Ezra Erenika, an unbeaten prospect from Nigeria who's based in Sale. Erenika is unbeaten in 12 pro fights, 10 of which he's won by knockout. So he was itching to get heard, I suppose, and stood up, interrupted the press conference. I think it was pretty funny because I think Ben Whittaker's response was pretty short, something like who are you? You know, it was a pretty funny. Okay, not funny, you know, because it's rude to interrupt, but Anyway, Aranika wants the next shot at Ben Whittaker, but Leon Willings, he's the guy who's going to enter the ring. He's a young boxer from Cheshire, the next man trying to solve the puzzle Whittaker presents. And anyway, as I said, they fight on that undercard of the Wardley Fraser Clarke battle. And Whittaker said with a smile, anyway, after being interrupted, Leon's the bounty hunter. I've got a big bounty on my head. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. But he's certainly entertaining, without a doubt. Speaking of entertainment, I see an awful lot of words of war thrown across the internet with respect to this big Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight, and whether or not it's going to get licensed, and whether or not it's going to be a professional fight or an exhibition match. And right now, at this particular moment in time, both fighters want it to be a professional fight, but there have been rumors and some reports that there will be some pre-fight testing, and it's going to be quite stringent, involving especially Mike Tyson at his age, although he's fit as a fiddle and certainly looks to be in great shape to take on Jake Paul and knock him out. But anyway, he will have to take and pass an EEG and an EKG. And for those of you who are on in age, you'll certainly be familiar with those two tests in order to be cleared to fight. So Tyson, as we know, he's 58 this June, and it's not certain that if Iron Mike could in fact pass these tests, given his age. In addition, further tests could be called for if the expert at the Texas licensing department are not 100% happy and fully satisfied. Of course, with a fight of this magnitude, set to be watched by millions, without a doubt, millions, the last thing anybody wants to see is Tyson get badly hurt or injured, or conversely, Iron Mike knock out Jake Paul. I'm sure everybody'd like to see that. Okay, maybe not Jake Paul's fans. Maybe the fight will fail to happen after all. We'll all have to wait and see how Tyson fares in the tests when they happen, if they happen. And that has yet to be confirmed by Texas. So we don't really know. This is all verbiage. It's flying back and forth. And let's start off or end off by starting off with some good news to end the show. Golden Boy Promotions, who's in the thick of things in the West Coast of America, have announced a special partnership with Hollywood Park. And that, you might recall, is the park that holds the YouTube theater. And they're going to commence with a clash between cruiserweight title holder Arsene Goulamirian and Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez. And that's an upcoming clash. And that's going to start off a year of boxing entertainment for boxing fans in Los Angeles. It's a multi-year, multi-event agreement, and it solidifies Golden Boy's commitment, to be blunt, to bringing local and international boxing stars and events to the heart of Los Angeles, without a doubt. Let's have a quick read here, straight from the press conference press release. Adolfo Romero, the vice president of programming and booking at YouTube Theater at Hollywood Park, said, YouTube Theater is the first Los Angeles venue to ink a multi-year agreement with a boxing promoter, showcasing our commitment to this sport and leveraging our year-round events at SoFi Stadium, huge, and across Hollywood Park to continue our diverse programming strategy. And I hope that spreads around the world. I've been talking about this quite often. Other than women's boxing, my favorite ride is to talk about international boxing. It is an international sport. It isn't just a sport that is held in either America or the United Kingdom. Anyway, the agreement between these two people was announced at a press conference ahead of Golden Boy's card at the YouTube Theater that is in Inglewood, California. And it's Armenia's. He's a great fighter. Goulamirian, he's 27-0, by the way. We'll meet Mexico's Ramirez, who's 45-1. It's a scheduled 12-rounder, and it will be broadcast live on DAZN, by the way. So there you go, boxing fans. Appreciate it very much for joining me. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Please hit that notification bell. And beer me. You see that QR code up there? Show me some love. I'll talk to you. Let's see, after this upcoming series of fights that I've just mentioned, 11 a.m. Eastern Time here on Talkin' Fight.